Today's video, we're going to be going over my current AK collection. We do this every December, so this is going to cover my 2023 collection, and we're going to do something a little bit different in this year's collection update. We are going to go over the value of each gun, and at the end of the video, the total value of my entire AK collection. If I had to redo each gun all over again, what would it cost? So, hope you enjoy. This is something people have been asking me to do. People are always asking, what does this cost? What does that cost? And so I figured today I would literally break down line item by line item what I have invested in each of my AKs and then total it all up for you at the very end. So as I was doing all of the totals off camera, I was kind of adding things up. I was kind of surprised what some of this stuff is worth now, or at least what it would cost to rebuild some of these AKs that I've had, for several years now. It's pretty intense how prices have gotten. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into my current AK collection. Before we get into this video, I want to tell you about a very cool giveaway that we have going on for the entire month of December. We have $700 worth of Davrinoff gear. Davrinoff out of Brooklyn, New York has partnered with thirdpinthreads.com, our merch company, to bring to you a very cool giveaway. So for every dollar that you spend on Third Pin Threads in the entire month of December, every dollar gets you one entry to win this really cool Davrinoff package. We have a handmade chest rig, balaclava, sling, and a cheek piece for your AK. You're going to win it all. It's about a $700 value, and it's all of one items, handmade and hand-dated by the Davrinoff out of Brooklyn, New York. They've never partnered with anyone before, and we feel very honored that they've decided to partner with us for this really cool giveaway. That's the best way to help out this channel, is to buy anything that you see on Third Pin Threads. It helps us out greatly, and we don't do Patreon, and we don't do paid ad reads for ball sack razors. You get something for your cash, and finally, you might actually win something really cool for your cash. We're going to pick a winner in early January, so make sure you're following Davrinoff and Third Pin on Instagram so that you don't miss the update when we finally pick a winner. All right, let's get back to the video. First up, we call this gun Misha. This is Rachel's SLR 106 that has been heavily modified, and it's a super freaking cool gun. This is a Bulgarian, basically a 5.56 AK74 that Arsenal was bringing in from Bulgaria long time ago. You can't get these anymore, so the value on this base gun is actually pretty high, and it's had a ton of gunsmithing from M13. It's got a lot of aftermarket stuff. It looks very different from last year's AK update video. This gun has what M13 calls the JMAC front end, so it's basically a chopped barrel to 14.5 inches with a pin and weld muzzle device, which is a JMAC RRD4C with a GBC 13 gas block. It also has the JMAC MMS rail. It has a SaberWorks KOP integrated optic mount, which is modular, currently running an SRO with a JagerWorks Bros shield. Got an ALG trigger in there, has a K&S fully adjustable gas piston. We have a Krebs safety lever. She has a custom Cerakoted Sailor Moon mag. My wife, Rachel, that you see on the channel all the time, is a huge Sailor Moon fan. So some friends of ours, Bobby and Ethan, did a really cool Sailor Moon mag. And this one has been converted to 223 with a conversion follower. She's got some really cool Bulgarian blonde wood and a Russian blonde pistol grip to just break up the metal a little bit of blonde wood, I think, on this jet black gun looks pretty sick. And then a JMAC triangular stock. And the whole gun has been painted by 11 Mile. This is a high gloss, high temp Cerakote job with some kind of pearlescent red accents. I know some people hate the red accents. They think it's like a Strike Industries thing, but I think it breaks up the black a little bit, and for Rachel, it looks really good on her, I think. And just because this gun is for my wife doesn't mean anything at all. This thing is extremely capable, super capable. I think base SLR 106s now, if you can find one, you're only going to find one used. If you're lucky, you're going to pay anywhere between $2,000 to $2,500. I'm sure some people have paid more, but let's assume you get it for a deal. The price of the gun plus all of the work and accessories comes out to $38.56 on Rachel's Misha. The next gun is my Tiger Blood AK. I call it that because I had to get 200 to 300 headshots to unlock this really cool red tiger paint job. Everyone knows that. What this is an SLR 107 FR. This is a Arsenal Bulgaria import. These are some of the best AKs to ever come in the country. Just like Misha, the AK that you saw just before, These Bulgarian kind of 100 series AKs were some of the best, just the best stuff ever. Back when they were brand new, they were relatively inexpensive. At the time, they were considered to be pretty expensive AKs. Now they're unbelievably expensive. So basically what we have here, started life as a 16-inch FR, and we did another one of the M13 JMac front ends. So this actually has a brand new barrel, and it's interesting because in the pricing, I actually just now am remembering that it has a new barrel, so we won't include that in the cost, but the barrel has been cut down to 14.5. It has a JMac RRD 4C chemo suppressor mount, pin and welded for a legal 16. We have the combo block, the GBC 13 from JMac. Pretty cool. This is honestly one of the best mods that you can do to any AK, is to do a pin and weld. Certainly on 7.62 when you're not really worried about muzzle velocity loss. This is an amazing thing, and people have been doing this forever. Like, you know, Jim Fuller kind of pioneered this modification back in, you know, his Rifle Dynamics days back when he owned the company. And now a lot of people are doing front end conversions. It's extremely normal now to see this on a lot of AKs. Moving on back, we have a KBS Customs Swiss cheese grater, and the very cool brand new, the Molotov Manufacturing, I believe they call it the M62 lower handguard. Obviously, this is a Zenit clone lower handguard for much less money. Fits very tight, so you can see there's absolutely no wobble, no rattle, and it took no fitting, no filing, no nothing. Just a quick little bump to lock it into the receiver, and it's also held in by your lower handguard retainer. What's really cool about it, it allows me to keep my cleaning rod. Just a lot of options out there that don't allow you to do it. This does, and I think it looks pretty sharp on this gun. It's just a sharp looking handguard. Obviously, we talked about the paint job. That's by 11 Mile out of Colorado. Pretty much any paint job you see in this video, John did at 11 Mile. We have another KOP. This is running the SLX MD25 from Primary. It's got the ACSS. It's illuminated. It's a pretty cool dot. I think they have better things now, but this dot's been on here for a little while. Really cool optic mount, by the way. Got the KBS Custom safety selector. Really great mod. Inexpensive. It's one of the easiest things to install ever on an AK. You can get them with or without your bolt hold open there. Have a ALG AKT trigger. Put that. This is my sriracha sauce when it comes to AKs. I put it on everything if I can find enough. Awesome triggers. US palm grip wrapped up with some goon tape. And out back we actually have a JMac. They call it like the skeletonized tube because it fits M4 stocks, but it's obviously not a tube. It's pretty cool how that shape still locks on an AR-15 stock with no rattle whatsoever. We have a color matched SLK Magpul stock. And the JMac stock actually has QD mounts on both sides, so we've got one. And it does fold. It can actually fold either way. The stock mechanism can fold that way, and then the JMac mechanism I have folding the other way. So you can fold it any way that you want. See, we got that way, and then there's that way. It's pretty cool, and no matter what, it locks up tight. It's pretty cool. As far as the base gun goes, if you had to buy an SLR 107 FR today, I still think if you get lucky, you're going to pay anywhere between $200 to $2,500. And again, I think there are people that are paying slightly more than that, but that's the threshold. So I'm going to go to the bottom end of that, $2,000 plus everything we've had done to it. To replicate this gun, I would value that at $37.97. Next up is my Galil 5.56 Gen 1 Ace, and this would have been a 16-inch gun that is no longer a 16-inch gun. And this is honestly one of the nicest AK variants. Yes, Galils are AK variants, fight me. In my collection, it's one of the best shooting guns that I own, regardless of what kind of variant it is. It is a phenomenal shooter. It's a Cadillac for sure. Basically what we have here, again, Gen 1 Ace. This would have had a 16-inch barrel. And this has to be one of the first Galils to ever have this type of mod. Daniel Fisher, Halcyon Defense, actually did a couple things to this. He turned the barrel down to 14.5, and we did another pin and weld. As you can see there, we have another JMac RRD chemo for a Sandman suppressor. And recrowned, everything, and it's all pinned and welded in place for a legal 16. So this was way before we ever got the 13-inch versions in. But, you know, this is a nice in-between, and I still have a little bit of muzzle velocity there to try to squeeze a little bit more oomph out of 5.56. The other big thing that he did here, this was way back before these ever came in the country with Galil mags, so back then, this was also before the K&S Delete kits, so Daniel also, out of using parts from a real Galil SAR parts kit, did one of the first magwell conversions that I had ever seen anyone do with these on the internet. This originally would have taken the AR-15 mags, would have had the push mags, would have had bolt hold open. Daniel fully converted it, so you actually have a real Galil grip. You still have your safety selector that works. This is a real Galil trigger guard and mag latch out of a parts kit. And he even bobbed this little area here to make it easier to kick your mag out. Daniel did all this before it was even popular. I think he's one of the pioneers that really got people into doing this type of a mod to their early Gen 1 aces. So Daniel at Halcyon, man, he does great work. As far as everything else, we have the RS Regulate GAR10MN. I know that's a mouthful. This is like a must-do mod for Galils. The Gen 1s with the RS Regulate rails, this is the sickest looking rail anyone's ever made for one of these, and it's honestly like you have to do it. If you're going to buy a Gen 1, you're going to be on that mailing list on RS Regulate's website because they're never in stock, and as soon as they are, they're gone because everybody wants them. So we have one of the early ones here, and we've got it decked out with Slate Black Industries grips and grip panels. A little bit of goon tape here. No optic on this, but we are running a little bit of goon tape on that factory Galil grip. And internally, we have a K&S piston because, man, this thing, it was overgassed from factory. And it now, with the tunable gas and the Sandman suppressor adaptability, it's a beautiful shooting gun. One of my all-time favorites to suppress. And we're all running the factory stock. I have a actual Galil stock that's Cerakoted to match. Sometimes I switch it out, the tubular, real, like ARM stock. Don't have it mounted right now, so we're still running the factory setup. I feel it's a bit more usable, because I like running that stock a little bit closer to the dust cover. So that's on there now. Other than that, the rest of it's stock. Internals are all stock. And, oh yeah, Daniel did install the ALG trigger, and it is heavily tuned. It feels like it's on ball bearings. It's freaking phenomenal. And the paint job on this is Barrett Brown. This is also done by 11 Mile out of Colorado. There's a really old picture of a South African R4, maybe it was an R5, with this really cool, like, off-tan color that I saw in a Vickers book, and John tried to replicate that for me, and I think he did a great job. Base price on Galils, even Gen 1s, I think they can still be had for about $1,800 if you can find them. All of the work and accessories I've had done to this gun added to the base value. If I had to replicate this gun, it would be $3,259. Well, I think literally every gun has had a folding stock so far. This is probably my favorite AK that I own, my Romanian Draco SPR. So later when I talk about like the value of the base gun, this is going to be higher. Like right now you can get Dracos for like $700. Like factory 12-inch Dracos, like you know, the original regular Draco. But when I purchased the base Draco, Atlantic Firearms was selling them with a couple of different mods from them. They were installing optic rails, and they were chroming the bolts and carriers. Not something that I think is even available today unless you get a gunsmith involved. So when I talk about the value of the base gun later, I'm going to add a few $100 to that $700 just because I bought it with that stuff already done, and I definitely paid for it. And I think you would too if you were trying to replicate it. So yeah, Romanian Draco, that's had quite a bit done. Starting from kind of the core here, what you can't see is we actually had to do a barrel swap on this. My concentricity was so bad, there was no way I was able to suppress this, and that was like the whole point of me wanting a Draco. I wanted a short 7.62 AK that I could suppress without having a really long AK and then stacking a can on the end. So at the time, JMac was making barrels, so M13 actually put a new American barrel in there, turned it down to the factory Draco length, rethreaded it to 1/2x28 with a new fresh crown. So now I can run 1/2x28 muzzle devices, and the good news is JMac makes, like, all their muzzle devices have a 10 mil hole. So it doesn't matter what thread pitch it is, you can pass 30 cal through it. So we have an X Series 360 brake on here that's set up where I can run my Wolfman suppressor on here. And underneath here, There's just a 360 muzzle brake. Does kill recoil, makes a crazy ass flame, but these outer threads will allow me to thread on my Wolfman suppressor. And of course I have the corresponding blast shield if you want to be nice to everyone around you. The rail is a JMac MMS with the corresponding railed gas tube. It's basically the entire package. It's a barrel mount. It free floats the barrel, doesn't touch your lower handguard retainer at all. Also running a new optic mount from them that actually bolts to that MMS and gives me a little bit of pick up top, and I'm just running a little Trijicon RMR on a low mount. Out back we have another ALG trigger. Pretty sure every single AK I have, except maybe one or two, has that. Phenomenal trigger. And of course that factory Romanian PM90 crutch folder with the AMD 65 Tech bolt-on cheek riser. These things are really cool. They make them for just about any kind of like AK crutch folder there is. It's like factory back here and it's Space AK up here. And the paint job, it's kind of like a battle-worn, distressed look. Also 11 mile. They can be had for $7, but because I bought mine that already had stuff done by Atlantic, the rail, the chromed bolt and carrier, I'm going to say that all together, probably a $1,000 base gun to start. So if you add that up with everything I had done to it, plus the $200 tax stamp, you're going to get $3,160 if I had to start all over again and replicate this gun. This is a Romanian kit build built by Definitive Arms. They called this the D47 63R. Back when they sold these were very inexpensive. I think they sold them for like below $1,000. This has been many years ago, and I picked this thing up secondhand, and I paid more than that for it secondhand. To buy it all over again today, it's probably a bit more, but we'll talk about that later. But basically, yeah, you have a Romanian kit built by a very well-known, reputable gunsmith. Definitive Arms is known to have a high attention to detail, good quality control. They use good parts, and they're just really good at building AKs over there. So this has an American barrel. The origin, I don't know, but I do know, and the videos that this thing is featured in, this is one of the tightest printing AKs in 7.62 that I have. Has to be the most accurate 7.62 AK I have. On iron sights, this gun has absolutely freaked me out. The group sizes that it can pull at 100. Because of that, I really want to take this thing out to 5 on irons and see what it can do. But yeah, an American barrel. Still has 14x1 threads. It's extremely concentric. So up front we have an RRD 2C with chemo from JMac. And with my Sandman attached, this is probably the most concentric 7.62 barrel I have. That rod falls out dead center. On this we have a little CDM gear light mount running a Surefire G2. I'm actually kind of working on a video with like setting up an AK with the bare minimum, which is kind of why it's set up like this, which is why that light's on there. But that's a really, really good light mount if you want to keep your AK looking factory stock. It even has a hole for your cleaning rod to go through. So it's very non-intrusive on the look, and you don't need a whole bunch of aftermarket parts to put it on there. And the light falls out right where your thumb's going to be, so it works out really good. We have a beautiful set of Polish laminate wood handguards. I hand-selected these out of a booth at Knob Creek back when good wood was really easy to find. Just really nice handguard sets were everywhere, and this is no exception. Very pretty wood. The stock is actually Romanian. It's kind of a blonde in color, but it really, at first glance, matches the Polish handguards in shade of color, so that's why I have it all matched up. Beautiful stock, has a trap door. We don't have a cleaning rod in this one, but I need to get one in there. Beautiful, beautiful stock. Factory grip wrapped with goon tape. Factory safety selector that's been hand-tuned. This actually has an old Tapco G2 in it, which you can't even find anymore. I don't know how I got one. I found it in a bag, and I thought, man, I got to put a G2 in something. It's like the 90s all over again, and that's just the trigger that you would put in AKs back then in the early 2000s. It was like the only game in town for so long. Does have the Definitive Arms optic rail. Do run optics on this all the time. Runs really well with them. It does have a K&S piston because we do suppress it quite a bit. Just a really cool, when you hang a suppressor off like a bone stock looking AK, it just looks cool. So we definitely had to turn the gas down a little bit. And one little feature I always forget to mention, it's got an M+M magazine latch. Kind of gives you a bit more to grab onto there, and they really help with mag wobble. So if you have an AK with a lot of mag wobble, just put one of these in there. it takes up a lot of the slop and makes your mag fit way tighter. Honestly, for someone to pick up a Romanian kit build that's this nice from a well-known gunsmith like this, I value the base gun at about $1,350. If you add the few things that I've done to it, with that base price, if I had to do this all over again, I'm probably looking at about $1,710 for something like this. That's not including the price of the light or the mount. The next AK rifle I don't actually have here. It's at my shop, but that would be my AK74, so I'll give you a little bit of B-roll here. Blam. It's a beautiful gun. This is a Bulgarian parts kit that was provided by Mario Parada. I told him I had some really good parts and I was ready for an AK74 build. He had the kit ready to go. He just told me to find a barrel and find a trunnion. That was the only thing. Cut me a pretty good deal on the kit because it was missing the trunnion. So my kit is not parts matching, but as if that changes the way it shoots, I didn't care. I just wanted him to really put together a nice 74 because, you know, Mario's a very talented smith, and I know he's going to be like a future Jim Fuller one day, so I want to be able to say that, hey, I got one of his early builds. Anyway, so non-matching kit, I sourced a trunnion. I found a virgin, beautiful, a virgin Bulgarian barrel, had never been cross-drilled for a barrel pin. Sent that into him, so it's got about as good as a barrel can get for an AK-74. Hand-selected, beautiful Russian blonde wood that Mario actually found for me. A Russian blonde grip that I found to match the set. Phenomenal gun, man. So he put it together. He Cerakoted it black. He installed, I've got MK3 axis pins that are titanium, a Krebs safety, a very nicely tuned ALG AKT trigger, factory gas, factory muzzle device, and the gun's totally factory. I did have him install an optic rail on the side of that thing. So beautiful gun. If I had to do it all over again in today's world, put all the prices up here of the various costs. So if I had to do all of this all over again, it would cost me about $2,387. I think Mario cut me some slack here and there. I'm not sure if it could be done for that price, but I really think I could have the whole thing put together again for about that money. Next up is my Alpha clone. This is my Bulgarian SLR 106, exactly like Rachel's Misha AK. It's got a lot of the same stuff, but I really, really wanted this thing to you know, pay homage to the old Larry Vickers Alpha clone videos. It seems like everyone's got to have that one AK decked out with some Zenit Co. So this was my attempt without going completely crazy. But when I added up the value on this thing, it turns out I did go pretty crazy. And now I know some guys that have everything Zenit Co. on their gun, what they really have invested. And man, there's some people that have like $6,000, $7,000 in some of this stuff. But I don't quite have that. But anyway, again, this is my Bulgarian 106. This started life as another 16-inch gun. And it is 5.56, if I didn't mention that before. Started life as a 16-inch gun. I had John at M13 do another JMac front end. I do have tunable gas in there. I've got a K&S. If you're going to get a can for your AK, just tune the gas somehow. You really are going to see the benefit. And then, of course, the beautiful Zenit Co. Got the B10U lower with the B19H upper handguard, coupled to the B33 railed dust cover, and I've got a BCM forward grip down here on Picatinny, a little bit of rubber up here because I do kind of clamp on it, so that keeps my thumb off the heat and kind of from getting cheese grated on those 1913 spots. This green color came in one time. Tufu, I think, was the only guy, maybe some other websites got it, but I think he was one of the only guys that was dealing this jungle green or whatever they were calling it when it came in. It came and went really fast. Really, any non-black Zenit Co. is pretty rare, and it is very sought after. On top of that B33, I've got a Trijicon MRO on a little Trijicon low mount. Got an M13 extended charging handle. It's knurled. Been on there a long time, long time. Never has flown off. I've had this thing on there since like Red October 2017. Long time. I've never tightened it. Got a Krebs safety. I have an ALG trigger. Running the factory Bulgarian SLR stock. This gun is slab-sided, as you can see here. I've got no optic rail, so It's not a big deal. I'm never going to have optics mounted to the side, so I leave the stock on this folded a lot, especially when I'm traveling with it. So I think as far as folding stocks go, if you have a 4.5 pin or a 5.5 pin, the 100 series style of polymer stocks, it's probably one of the greatest AK stocks ever made. The paint job was done by 11 Mile. It might be hard to see, but he actually did a black paint job across the entire thing. Any of the small parts, including the trigger, pins, bolt, and carrier, he actually did in a different shade of black. It's a gloss black and a matte black finish on the receiver and the large parts. You don't really notice it right away, but when you get close, the gloss and the matte clash very well. And it's a cool offset. And then you throw a little bit of green in there, a little bit of orange. I think it's a pretty sharp looking AK. If I had to buy the gun and do everything all over again, it would take me $4,137 to redo this in today's market. That's on the low end though. That's if you can score the base rifle for around 2K. Now, this is a new gun to the collection. We've got plenty of videos on it, and this is a very special gun from a very special builder. This is my Mini Barrel, fully customized by KBS Custom. And there's plenty of videos on what like a regular Mini Barrel looks like and how it comes, so you can go check that out. But basically, KBS kind of completely overhauls the thing, so I'll start from the very front to show you what he's done. So he's removed the factory muzzle device and he's added the JMac chemo adapter for barrels. He has his bespoke KBS Custom made M-LOK aluminum upper and lower handguard specifically for the Mini Barrel. It gives you 1913 here, and it gives you M-LOK slots on the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. And I've got a little Slate Black Industries forward grip there with some goon tape. He has his patented speed loading system. You can see here there's a mag paddle to help you funnel magazines into the gun. And again, we have full videos on this. And a spring-loaded mag ejection system that actually drops your mag for you, and that paddle on the side helps funnel the new mag in. This is something that KBS thought up, and he's putting them on a lot of Mini Barrels right now. And as far as reloads go, I can reload with this AK faster than anything else I have in the safe. I mean, we're talking 2-second reloads, extremely fast stuff. He installed an ALG and hand-tuned it. It's a beautiful feeling trigger. It's really, really nice. You've probably already noticed that he deleted the charging handle here, and he's actually added left side charge. So we now have a charging handle on the left side, and he's clearanced the dust cover so that it can move freely. And that charging handle on this side, he left just enough where it can still engage with your safety, and it still works as it should with your safety and keep everything safe when that safety is on. On the back of the gun, he welds in a 1913 rail. It looks factory, and you can run any kind of stock or brace you want on it. So we've got a JMac stock here, a skeletonized stock, a little bit of goon tape with the rubber in the rear. Green kind of matches the gun, kind of clashes. Some people love it, some people hate it. And up top, we are running, what's going on, Morty? Probably hear my dog down there on the floor. We've got the Atero Arms optic mount that actually mounts where the factory Barrel 1913 mounts. That actually comes off very easy. And now you can run aim point pattern, red dots, which is really freaking cool on this thing. So the gun itself can be bought from KBS for about $3 in pistol form. So if you take that value and you add up everything that I've done to it for me to replicate this, plus the tax stamp, you're looking at about 3,600 bucks. This gun in particular was built by, at the time, a very well-known, and still to this day, very respected gunsmith, Gordon Tech. He's not building them anymore, but back in those days, late 90s, early 2000s, Gordon Tech is probably one of the best that there ever was. And any AK with that little G spot on it, it's like a G stamp on your barrel, they hold a lot of value because these are very well-made kits. And back then, they had really nice kits coming into the country. They had like the pick of the litter back then. Now, we're like scraping the bottom of the barrel. What's really cool about this gun, there were only 250 of these made with one serialized prototype. We have serial number 00251, the very last one ever made. I even found Gordon on Facebook, and I verified. And he said that if he remembers correctly, there were 250 made. The prototype was serial number 1, and they ended with serial number 251. And this gun has a very special story. There's a full video on it. If you just look around on my channel, you'll find, I call it, I bought my dream AK. Very interesting story, and it's just a very special gun to me. But anyway, what we have here is the 5.56 Bulgarian kit built on the Bulgarian receiver. So it's all Bulgarian. We have it topped off with a JMac RRD 4C muzzle device. Kills a ton of recoil. That factory barrel. We have the full-length 14-inch JMac MMS rail that free floats this entire barrel, clamps all the way back here, so no matter how much you flex on it, doesn't affect the barrel at all. We've taken this gun out to long range many times. It is a tack driver out to 500 and 600 yards on cheap ammo. Got the Slate Black Industries forward grip with goon tape. On that lower handguard, we have the JMac aim point optic mount, running a little primary arms. Red dot here bolts directly onto your whole system. It is extremely rock solid. Factory safety, ALG trigger, phenomenal feeling trigger in this gun. Hand tuned it myself with MK3 Firearms titanium axis pins there, kind of blingy. Polish fatty Bakelite grip, some of the best surplus grips you'll ever find. They're beautiful to look at and they do feel good. Put a bead of goon tape on there and it's a phenomenal feeling grip. This is the factory stock. Kind of ugly to look at. It's just black furniture. It's not that great. So I put a bunch of stickers on there, covered it all up with goon tape, just kind of a funky look. And this is like a full-on competition gun for me. So I kind of like for it to be a little loud with how it looks. Running another AMRU +5 base plate. They work really good on Circle 10 mags. And this gun was made to work on Circle 10 mags. Works flawlessly with Bulgarian mags. Has a K&S gas piston in there to turn it down. And it's just a great, phenomenal gun with the weight, the milled receiver, and the tunable gas and everything about it. It shoots as good, if not better, than that Galil does in there. It's like between this and my Gen 1 Galil as far as the softest, smoothing, shooting 5.56 AK variant. They're pretty phenomenal. I've seen these things sell in recent years, like physically seen them sell, anywhere between $2,000 and $2,500. I've seen one at a local gun show sell for $2,400, but I think the majority of these things, you might be able to find one for $2,000, so we're going to start there. If you add up all the accessories that I put on here and you had to buy this gun and, you know, do what I did, I value it at $2,750. That's a low estimate. When I did that math, I was thinking, man, it's so odd that this gun wasn't worth as much as I thought it was. Like, to me, I was going to really just say this is a $3,000 gun plus. Me personally, there's no way I would let this gun go for that kind of money. These K101s are extremely rare. Remember, one of 250. There's not that many, but every now and again one will pop up. I think you could do it for less than $3,000. Next up is the AK I've been shooting more than anything else in my collection right now, and that is my Zastava M90. This is a really freaking cool gun. Hated on by a lot of people. A lot of people don't like Yugo pattern guns or like modern day Zastavas, but they're honestly probably some of the best values out there right now. This barrel has been cut to 16 inches. I think this is kind of what a lot of people wish Zastava would do with these, is stop selling them with 18-inch barrels and just sell them with 16. So that's what I did. 16-inch barrel. I've got a JMac RRD 4C chemo on here for suppressor mounting. And it sleeves the barrel a little bit, so once it's on there, it doesn't really drag the length out all that much. And because it's 16, it's not pin and welded, I can switch it out whenever I want. I do run an unrivaled brake on here when I shoot competitions quite a bit. The barrel actually had to be turned down a little bit to fit this Occam tunable gas block. This is a 5-position gas block with a 6th shutoff position. Kind of the new hotness right now. There's a lot of companies coming out with some really cool combo blocks that are tunable. Fully adjustable windage and elevation on your iron sight here. Very freaking awesome gas block. A little bit of trench art on our upper handguard here. It says Kula. It's my favorite trench art I have on any piece of wood. And below that, we have the RS Regulate GKR9DY. This is the Yugo pattern specific rail that he has. This will fit any Serbian, Yugoslavian AK. This is a Yugo pattern AK, so of course you've got the bulged receiver, bulged trunnion. It's got a thick receiver and a bulged trunnion, and the barrel is thicker than AKM spec. The optic mount we have on here is another RS Regulate part. This is the AK307MS Yugo specific mount, running a primary arms optic up top, big open field of view. And remember, we're not going to use the optic to add value to the gun, but we will, since it's on here, we'll add the value of the actual optic mount. And the Serbian AKM style wood, mine came with all the gross Archangel stuff, so I had to buy this stock separately, and of course my surplus wood. Got a little bit of goon tape up there and on the back because it's really slippery. And my most favorite aftermarket grip ever, the US Palm Grip, wrapped with goon tape. And something that you can't find anymore, which sucks, but this is the ALG Ultimate. This used to be like a step above the regular ALG. It's all nickel Teflon coated. It's the best feeling ALG you can ever get. And they don't make them anymore. They made them for a long time, but now they just like make one. They make the regular trigger. The base gun, I paid about $1,300 back in COVID times, and you're probably gonna pay about that now. So let's say base gun's gonna cost you 1,300 bucks. If you add up all of the gunsmithing and parts and accessories that we have on here, the value of this gun is $2,723 to basically clone this. This is new to the collection compared to last year's video. This is my Type 3. This is a Polish parts kit built on an SLR 100H receiver. Again, another one of those milled Bulgarian receivers that came in like 20 years ago. And this is an original barrel Polish Type 3 kit. And again, this is probably made back in the mid to early 2000s, back when really nice parts kits were the norm. Now not so much. Beautiful milled pattern wood. The only part I'm really missing, I don't have the proper grip for it. It wasn't on it when I found the gun, so I've got a Polish fatty on there for now. And a really nice set of hardwood up front, not laminate, actual solid piece of hardwood, upper and lower. These Type 3s are really cool. They've got thicker barrels compared to AKMs. They've got the smooth, thicker dust covers, and of course the big milled receivers. The stock angle's physically different. The way the stock mounts is physically different. The gas block's a little bit different, and the front sight post is a little bit different compared to AKMs. This one, it's interesting. You can tell how old it is because this slant brake is permanently mounted. It's like brazed in place. I could break it off one day, but this isn't really a gun that you modify, so I'm probably going to leave it alone. This was actually a wedding present from my dad and my uncle. I actually found this gun at a pawn shop years ago, and was very young at the time, got hard up for money, and ended up selling it to my uncle with like first right of refusal. I told him, if you ever want to get rid of it, like please ask me first. Been trying to get it back for years, and he would just never, get off of it. And wouldn't you know it, at my wedding, my uncle and my dad surprised me with it, like best wedding present ever, am I right? Value on this, I'm kind of shooting from the gut here, but let me think about it. I feel like some people are going to scream at the screen right now because I think I'm going to undervalue this thing. I would say the gun is probably worth 2,500 bucks. I feel like some people are going to say it's beyond $3,000, but I'm going to keep going low on some of these things, and I think if you really play your cards right, you might be able to get a nice Type 3 kit for 2,500 bucks if you know the guy. This is an SGL 2194. It's a Russian Saiga. This is the closest thing America ever got to a very factory Russian AK-103. It is feature rich. Really the only feature that this thing is missing that I even know about is a reinforcement plate that would be mounted right underneath your grip, between the grip and the receiver. Short of that, this is an AK-103. There were a lot of SGL 21s and 31s that came into the country, but as far as the folding stocks, the 21-94 and the 31-94, very rare, not a whole lot of them. This gun I actually won in a raffle. Buddy of mine actually had a raffle going on. He was raising money for his gunsmithing business, Mario. And they had a raffle going on where it was like $100 per entry. You could enter one time, and he had 100 spots available. Told him I want a spot. We got to pick our numbers. My birth year was still available, 1989, so I picked 89 out of 100. And I waited. He was giving away like 3 different raffles, and he had a random number generator on the screen, and he gave away the first gun and then the second gun, and then he got to the 103. And it landed on my flipping number, and dude, I came unglued out of my chair. I was watching it live on Instagram, and I freaking won this thing. Basically, Russian 100 series style. You got the 74 breakup here, 90-degree gas block. This is a US set for 922R, but it's 100 series style, upper and lower handguard with heat shield. The Russian smooth, thicker dust cover. 5.5 hinge pin with the folding stock. Stamped Izmash right here. I don't know if this has a cleaning kit. I think it does. It does. Very cool. These things are pretty loaded. You got the optic rail, the folding stock, the 74 front end. I mean, it is basically a 103. Freaking amazing. So, you know, these would have been imported by Arsenal, and they are stamped Legion, Ishevsk, Russia, Arsenal, Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. That's how they all would have been stamped. Very rare, extremely fortunate to have this thing. I've really never won anything in a raffle. I've never won anything. And, you know, we do Kalash Bash and all these other events. We give away guns all the time. I've never won anything like this. And if I'm going to win something, this was definitely the one thing I would have chosen to win. So to value this thing, if I really had to think about it, I did a lot of searching, kind of what these things have sold for recently. When it does have a real deal Russian AK-103 magazine that came with it. So for someone to replicate everything that you see here, I think it's worth $4,000. I have its Bulgarian cousin here, my Arsenal SLR 107 FR. This is like the Bulgarian attempt at a 100 series AK, but with quite a bit more differences. So again, another Arsenal. These things are completely dried up. The 107 Fs and FRs have become very desirable. Next to the Saigas, these are definitely some of the best AKs to ever come in the country. They've got everything. They've got optic rails. They've got side folders, a lot of which came in with triangle folders, which are like the most desirable. 90-degree gas blocks, 24mm threads, and built like tanks. These are just very well-made AKs. These are very robust, long-lasting, high-mileage guns. And they were cheap when they came in. Now they've gotten very expensive. This one has still the factory Arsenal 74 US-made muzzle device. Factory barrel, obviously. Cleaning rod, 90-degree gas block. Got a set of Russian laminate upper and lower handguards on it. And a Russian pistol grip to match. All heavily distressed, looks really cool, wrapped up with goon tape. The Krebs safety lever. An ALG trigger. Internally, it's all bone stock, factory gas piston. I don't even suppress this gun. It's full gas all the time. I think it looks kind of cool, looking fairly stock, so I kind of leave it like this. I don't even run optics on it all that much. Stock folds nice and easy. Got a little bakelite in here, in case you didn't know that Ice Cube's a pimp. Really nice gun. This is the first nice AK that I ever bought. I bought this way back in 2014, maybe 2015. These things were like 1,100 bucks back then, and they were a dime a dozen. And they couldn't give these guns away for a while. They were popular, but the second they were gone, these things just exploded in value. So, because it's bone stock, we really don't have anything else to talk about. It does have an 11 Mile distressed paint job on there. This was the first paint job I ever had done by 11 Mile. And he did a really good job. Still to this day, it looks good. And it wears, it gets new dings and scratches all the time, but it's kind of meant to look that way, and it looks pretty cool. Again, a used 107 FR can be had, if you're lucky, between $2,000 and $2,500. So let's go low end. Let's say you can find one for $2K. You would be really lucky to find one for that price, mind you. I would value it at $2,437. That's assuming you can find one on the cheap, but honestly, it's probably worth more than that. And probably my most disliked gun that I own. This is like a love it or hate it gun for so many people. Most people don't like it, but at the time I thought it was really cool. And I still think it's cool. It shoots great. This is my Definitive Arms AKX9, the same builder from my Romanian kit build that you saw earlier. This was the first commercially available 9mm AK in America that I know about. These things were sold probably back around 2016. And at the time when I first saw it, I thought, yo, a 9mm AK, freaking sign me up. And they were expensive. They were like 1,600 bucks back then, new. And I actually bought mine as a rifle, so it had the extended muzzle device permanently installed. It was my first SBR. I still have the factory upper and lower handguard that it came with. I put the stock back on it. It's got this Hub City grip. It's kind of like a factory AK grip, just made to be a little bit fatter. I don't think he makes these anymore, but that's what I have on here, and it's a bit straighter, wrapped up with goon tape. I thought a straight grip kind of looked cool with a straight mag. I just thought that was a cool contrast. Up front, I've got the MK3 Firearms single chamber muzzle device. It's meant for KP9, so it's got half by 28 threads. So does this, and it's got a great big hole, so 9mm can pass through it. And it kind of looks like the front end of a 74 style muzzle device, so I thought it looked cool on here. Takes Colt 9mm mags, push button mag release, has bolt hold open, which no other AK mag other than the AKV has as far as I'm concerned, and has bolt release. Pretty forward thinking at the time. So this was the Definitive Arms mag adapter. It's all billet, pretty heavy duty. It has really stood up. I've never broken anything on this gun. It has really high round count. Just really well built. The biggest downside of this gun is it is extremely heavy for what it is. For a 9mm AK, this is heavy. A KP9 is like, it's several pounds lighter than this. And that's honestly, for the longest time, I used to think this is the best option out there for 9mm AKs. Now, a KP9 is definitely the best bet. But for the time, it was cool. And it's an SBR, so I'm stuck with it, but I still think it's a pretty neat little gun. I paid $1,600 for it new. That's the only price I even know to put on this. So let's say the base gun is $16,000. If you add the very few things I have done to it right now, plus the tax stamp, it is worth $1,980. Save the biggest gun for last, my Serbian Zastava M77 and 308. This was right during the panic when, you know, everyone heard about Zastava not importing guns for a long time because of whatever was going on between them and Kosovo. So I bought one impulsively because I didn't want to lose out. I thought if Zastavas go away, the 308 M77 is going to be the one I wish I would have bought. So I bought it. And got some really cool videos on this gun and had it set up a couple different ways. I really like the way it is right now with like a modern 5X optic and surplus wood with some trench art and like a little bit here and there of some modern touches. It looks old from a distance, but it's got all the right parts. So Yugo pattern, big thick receiver, bulged trunnion, and it's 308. Takes CS spec mags, rock and lock, has the tunable 3-position gas block that you see on the M90. The barrel is over 19 inches long, between 19 and 20 inches. Has 14x1 left-hand thread, so we got a little J-Mac flash hider on here. I highly recommend you use a muzzle brake because it does kick quite a bit. The handguards are surplus. They've got some really cool trench art. A lot of old Yugo handguards have trench art. You could tell these used to be on an underfolder because you see the notch there where it would fold. But pretty cool. I voided my warranty and I put an ALG trigger in there. I read the manual and I did it anyway. The safety is factory. I just tuned it where it's not so heavy. We have another of the RS Regulate Serbian mounts. I believe it's a 307. Yeah, 307M. With the mini ACOG upper running the SLX 5X from primary. We have a video taking this gun out to 800 yards with this optic, exactly how you see it here, and we got hits. I've scored my longest shot with an AK ever with this gun, and I don't regret buying it at all. I really don't. It was an impulse buy, and it's been cool ever since. The stock is also surplus. This would have come off of an M70. I'd like to get a surplus M76 or an M77 stock. Can't find one, so this is the next best thing, and it looks good enough. Doesn't quite get your cheek as high as like an M76 stock would, but it's fine. It came factory with the US palm grip. It's got the trap door, and other than that, it's bone stock, and I freaking love it the way it is right now. So the base gun, I paid $1,400. You're probably going to pay something relatively the same. If you add that with everything I have bolted on it, minus the optic, but we are going to count the mount in with the price. In its current configuration, it's worth $1,929. So if you took the mount off, that would go down substantially, but that's about what its current value is at. So that is the end of my AK collection. That's everything that I personally own right now that's here with me today. And you're probably all thinking, how much is the entire collection worth? I spent like 2 or 3 hours researching every single gun, what it could be bought for, what the prices are currently of all of the accessories, gunsmithing labor costs, Cerakote labor costs. I looked up everything, and I had all of that on my phone. Like every single price was accounted for, and hopefully you've been seeing that all on the screen now. So the current value of my entire AK collection all in, we're sitting at $44,225 if I had to completely replace everything exactly the same way in today's world. That price kind of blew me away. But you know, when you collect guns over a long period of time, you know, I'm in my mid-30s now, so I've been doing this since, you know, my early 20s. So over time, it's not a big deal. And granted, a lot of these guns I bought way before they skyrocketed in value, so I don't have anywhere near that invested. And full transparency, you know, we have sponsors for some of these competition builds. You know, John at M13 is a sponsor for us competitively. So some of this gunsmith work, he does comp for us because we wear his logo on our back and we go shoot matches for him. So I have had quite a bit of help offsetting the cost on some of these. You know, JMac, RS Regulate, a lot of these companies have hooked us up with special pricing and deals because they want to sponsor us at these matches. So it's been a big help. But the majority of this stuff I paid out of pocket, and when I added up all the cost, it hurt a little bit. But, you know, guns never lose value, so it's nice knowing that you have all these in the safe, and it's, you know, it's basically like a savings account. So, you know, always have good peace of mind that your guns will not lose value. And if you hung out all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much. You know, if you've got a little collection of your own, put pen to paper and kind of see what would it take to replace everything you have today. If you bought all your stuff several years ago, it'll probably surprise you how incredibly expensive everything has gotten and how everything you have has probably substantially increased in value, especially if you're in the AKs, surplus, or like com block guns. That stuff never loses value, and it has been skyrocketing lately. So maybe one of these days we'll go over like a full gun collection. We've got ARs and Mosins and all kinds of other stuff in the safe, but these are all the AKs. So thank you for watching. Go buy Third Pin Threads if you want to enter in that Davranoff giveaway or get a cool hat and t-shirt to show everyone that you love AKs. And I would appreciate that. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.